and even though it was for a good cause, he separated himself from everybody else that way. And that made, even if it didn't come off wrong, it just came off like, yeah, dude, you really special. So you add that on the back of you walking out getting the first MVP and you at the club with it, I'm the MVP, Piggyback that on to a couple of years ago when he was at the press conference where what it came out of, I am the best player in the world. Like,
I'm the best player in the world. Right, yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, man, he does things. And, just what he did this past season. He came out with I am king on his shoes.
Right. King of New York.
Like,
yeah.
So you get what I'm saying? Is that I'm using him as an example, but I think everybody functions that way. But you asked about LeBron. I'm saying LeBron does a lot to not help his own cause. But I hate him because he gives them room to throw shade. Like, dude, you can't not be perfect and do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be greater than Jordan to do that. Now I'm not saying that she's perfect, but Serena got a better chance of doing that than LeBron does. Because we can't find the holes in Serena's game that we can in LeBron's game.
Right.
You damn sure can't get mad at the media for asking you questions and walk off toe bag and in shorts with boots on. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. When the cats before you, no, seriously, when the cats before you didn't do that.
They just took the heat.
Thank you.
I mean, we don't have to
right.
leave Chicago to remember Isaiah Thomas and the Dennis Rodman situation. He stood there, even though he was digging his grave even deeper, but he still took the heat.
Exactly. Hell, look.
He didn't handle it.
In LeBron's situation, the one thing LeBron has against him is that he's being compared to Mike, and everything he does is being compared to Mike. And all the quote-unquote mistakes that he's made that we can hone in on, Michael didn't seem to make those mistakes. So my thing is, you're cognizant about that, then don't do that. And in LeBron's case, dude, you were asked a question about a game situation and you walked off the podium dealing with the media. Michael Jordan stood there at his locker and dealt with the media asking questions to him about his father's death. Like asking him, look, you were in court today. Did you see the pictures of your father as he, you're asking the dude to speak to you about looking at pictures of his father being dead on the side of a road. And he did not leave that. But you walk off about a question by J.R. Smith. So all I'm saying is that, not only is it the way the media is set up nowadays, society is set up from an internet standpoint, and you catching more hate than you necessarily deserve, athletes nowadays bring more heat on themselves because of situations like this.
That's fair.
That's fair, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I want to know what you think. I was just when I was getting everything together today. You cannot compare him to Michael Jordan, and it's just as you stated, every misstep that you've made, this dude hasn't made that misstep. What do you think about this one though? I was like, is LeBron James the Wilt Chamberlain of this generation? Because
no,
the reason I
would say, go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry.
The reason I draw these parallels is this: 50 years ago, Wilt Chamberlain was a super athlete. We had never seen anything as big, as fast, as strong, and as agile as Wilt.
Right.
He did everything. Wilt, he was already a monster scorer. All you can do is score. You couldn't pass. Wilt said, you know what? I'm going to lead the league in assists. Whatever they said he couldn't do, he turned around and did it. Look, physically, LeBron James is the exact same thing. I'm gonna get all the rebounds. I'm gonna get all the assists. I'm gonna score all the points, but I'm not gonna win. Wilt did everything. LeBron and Wilt do that. Not on the magnitude as Wilt, but physically and stature. We've never seen anything like Wilt or LeBron. We've never seen whatever you say they can't do, they can. And they, for whatever reason, You can't get enough people to help him, and he's like, Wilt wasn't a killer enough to just annihilate his competition. LeBron is a facilitator versus Kobe and Mike's attack mode. So that's why I said, is he not in physicality, but in just style of play? Is he this generation's Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That's a great analogy. And I said no earlier because I think the advantage that Wilt had that LeBron doesn't have is that Wilt was bigger than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? LeBron is not physically bigger than everybody in the league. He's bigger at his position.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that are bigger than him. Wilt, there was nobody bigger than. And if you look at Wilt's numbers,
right,
when you started seeing players coming in that were of his size, both height and weight, and could match him a little bit physicality, his numbers changed. You know, you look at his numbers against somebody like, Bill Russell alone, but Bill Russell a little slight. You know, Wilt's numbers were great, but he just didn't win games. You know, Bill was on some other level with that. But you look at his numbers against like a Nate Thurman. You look at his numbers against when Kareem came in the league, all that changed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, all of that changed. Even Wilt going to get somebody like smaller, like even a Wes Unseld, but he was so stocky and strong. You know, you look at it against Willis Reed. You know, right, exactly. When you look at Wilt's numbers against cats that could match him at some point, those numbers change. You know, but overall, Wilt was so much bigger than everybody in the league, and LeBron doesn't have that advantage. He's bigger than people at his position. But there are cats that are bigger than him. They may not be able to move like him, but the physical advantage that Wilt had, I think is unmatched in any. I can't think of any sport where that type of physical advantage has been in play. You know, and look, I've been on record that I always felt that Shaquille O'Neal was greater than Wilt. Only because physically he had more competition over the course of his career than Wilt did, as big as Shaq was. You know, I did a study for ESPN.
I got a question for you.
Hmm?
I got a guy who calls my show on a regular basis. One of my better callers, his name is Brian Cook. I have to give him a shout-out because he always calls. But this guy says consistently, if Wilt played today, he would be nothing more than David Robinson. To that you say?
To that I say I disagree. Only because only because I know the mentality, and it's funny when people do that. They don't look at everything else. And Wilt Chamberlain wanted to be one of the best. David Robinson didn't care about that. David, you can go on record and look at David Robinson quote. He said, "Basketball is not the most important thing to me." You know, I think Wilt Chamberlain, had he come up from, you know, playing ball in Kansas, playing with the Harlem Globetrotters, you know, playing in Philly, you know, Wilt would have wanted, even at size, to compete. Now, his skill set would have been much more advanced now than it was then because he would have been doing more things. You know, Wilt Chamberlain, from a hunger standpoint, was more like Joel Embiid.
Okay.
You know, fun-loving, you know, he was cool, this, that, and the other, but when he got on the court, he wanted to beast you. You know, what he had back in the day was not a challenge. He went through the most part of his career necessarily not being challenged because he was so much bigger than everybody else. But to your point, and this is what I want you to understand to tell your caller this, you saw in him when he got questioned or got pushed, he proved. Oh, you say I can't pass? All right, I'm going to lead the league in assists. You say I can't do that? I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying? So whenever he got pushed, or whenever he got challenged, he met that challenge. David Robinson didn't do that. So you take that Wilt Chamberlain, who, if you say he can't do anything, and bring him up in this day and age, you get what I'm saying? Oh, you can't do this. Wilt would, once again, he got that Joel Embiid. Oh, I'm going to do this. You know what I'm saying? So everybody looks at the peripheral. I look at the mindset of the individual that we're talking about and see where he's going to take it. And Wilt Chamberlain would have taken it there. trust on that. Sure, now he may not have won any more championships, but he ain't gonna sit back and be David Robinson. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
I
said the same thing. David Robinson is exactly what they described LeBron James as being, and I don't think LeBron James is that either. But yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No. They always say LeBron
David,
isn't aggressive enough.
Basketball means everything. David Robinson.
Yeah.
He had other things in his life that were more important. Basketball wasn't his end all be all. He was a great basketball player, but it wasn't his end all be all. His life did not depend or was wrapped around the game. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's great because that makes you a great individual. But when you're playing or your career is built in a sport where there are others that are already greater than you, you can't afford to have that luxury of being that and thinking at the end you're gonna come out being the best. And here, I'll throw it in a whole nother analogy. All right.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of somebody. I want to throw it in the acting mode, and I'm trying to think of other actors, but I'm going to use Denzel and Meryl Streep, right?
Okay.
If you're a young actor, if you're a young male actor, and I'm not saying he's saying this because I think he may be older. I'm just using him as an example because I'm not, I don't know. If you're Don Cheadle, you get what I'm saying? If you are, Octavia Spencer. If you're coming into the game of acting and you're like, I'm good at acting, but guess what? It doesn't mean everything to me. It's not my end all be all. And you're coming in while Meryl Streep and Denzel Washington are still acting. At no point in time are you ever going to think you're going to be considered one of the greatest actors. Because you have to.
Exactly.
Meryl Streep and Denzel Washington, that's what they do. Acting is their lives. And you can't come in, not having that at your forefront, thinking you're going to be considered greater than them. You can't win that game. Because there are, no disrespect to Don Cheadle and Octavia Spencer, but you're not going to mess with Denzel and Meryl Streep anyway. So you can't come in with a half-ass attitude against them when they are full on all the, you know what I'm saying? So in this game of basketball, David Robinson was great, but dude, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Magic Johnson, Larry, these basketball means everything to these dudes. This is their life. And they're probably better than you, period. So you can't come in the game and say, not in this game, not with them playing, and thinking I'm going to be considered, I want to be one of the greatest ever with that apathetic attitude when they had the exact opposite. You can't do that. Now, if there may be another period of time where you can't come in there and do that, but in David Robinson's case, you can't do that. And I say all that to say I don't get that from LeBron. LeBron, I think basketball is it for him. I think he's on the same pathway, So comparing LeBron to David Robinson, I can't do that because I look at David as not as what he does number-wise. I just look at his mental approach to the game is not what everybody else is in. And I think LeBron's mental approach to the game is on that historic level. I can't do that.
I totally agree. You hear it all the time. You say he doesn't have a killer instinct. He doesn't do it this way, but he does it the LeBron way, and I just don't understand why people won't let him do it the LeBron way and just accept him for being LeBron. Magic and Bird were two different players. They were great in their own right, and people allow Magic to be Magic and Bird to be Bird, but they won't allow LeBron to be LeBron. I just don't get it.
But here, real quick, can I answer that for you because Bird and LeBron were not compared. Bird and Magic were not compared to Michael Jordan. The unfairness that LeBron has to deal with is he's only being judged against one player. That's it. And we could subliminally do it or it doesn't make a difference. It's done. And part of that is ESPN's problem because we are the ones that put out that conversation and that narrative from the beginning. 10 years ago, whatever we did. We started making that Michael, LeBron conversation. LeBron, everything he does is not compared against anybody else but Michael. So